I'm Wendy and I'm an alcoholic.
Wendy.
I wasn't nervous until he once threw me out with getting everything dear, my God. Wow, I can't believe I'm sitting here 14 years into recovery. When I first came into recovery, I never thought I'd get here because I went in just before my 50th birthday. I went into the house on the hill, and it was my first treatment centre, and please God, my last, because I did not enjoy being there. I found it extremely difficult. It was the first time away in 25 odd years away from my husband. I'd probably enjoy it now to have a break, but that was then, now's now. Leading up to that, I never used to drink. I used to have the occasional glass of wine. I didn't like it because it used to make me sleepy, so if we went out for a dinner or whatever, I'd have like a half a glass of wine that would last the whole night, and even before the half glass was there, my eyes were closing already, so I didn't really like it. The feeling I got from drinking, and my late husband, he drank quite a bit, and he was God-given right to go out every Friday night with the boys, and it was so bad, I was so against it that I refused to go into a bottle store to buy his beers. How things have changed. Anyway, my dad was diagnosed with cancer in the year 2000, and that's when I actually decided that it might not be a bad idea to start drinking. I used to go up to my mom to be with her and help her with my dad, and she always used to have a cask of wine in the fridge, which she used to have a glass or two of wine every night, and she used to put it away. She used to overindulge, and I think the first night I was there, I was so overwhelmed with the fact that my dad, he was diagnosed, and by the time he was diagnosed, it was already too late. They couldn't operate or anything. They didn't even send him for chemo or anything. It was so far advanced. And just the thought of my dad dying, he was my hero. I didn't know how long I had with him, but instead of being there for him and for my mom, I got stuck into the wine. And the first night I was there, the wine was finished. I went to sleep, I slept like a baby, and I realized what I'd done, and the next morning I shot down to the shop quickly to go and get more wine so my mother wouldn't know how much I'd had. I always used to say to my husband that if I never ever used to get up, I used to wake up and I was never hungover. I think maybe if I was hungover, I might have stopped and thought maybe this isn't such a great idea, but I never did. Anyway, it went downhill really, really fast, and 3 years later, my youngest brother passed away, and instead of making it about my family and mourning my youngest brother, it was about me. And I think during the service, I was already slipping off to the bathroom to go and drink out of the bottle, because I never used to go to pubs or anything. I used to buy booze and then decant it into plastic bottles and hide them around the house. And then it was my mom, and she passed away. And again, it just got gradually worse. By the time my mom passed away, I was not only drinking a lot, I was also on a lot of sleeping pills, and because booze didn't just do it for me on its own anymore, because that was my escape from reality, was sleeping. And in 2008, my youngest son, he was home from varsity. He was looking for something in my cupboard, and he found 2 or 3 water bottles that were clear, and then when he opened them, he realized it wasn't water, it was gin, or whatever else it was that I used to put in it, because I always made sure it was clear, so if they were seen, it would look like water. Manipulative and devious, and right from the get-go. Anyway, he found them, and he went and he spoke to my husband. He said, "What is this?" My dad said, I don't know, what is it? Water. Why are you carrying around water? And then they discovered that it was actually booze and that it was mine. Because I used to get up in the morning, I had the shakes, I'd have a drink to stop the shakes, I'd go down, make breakfast. By 10 o'clock I'd be sleeping again because I'd been drinking again and I'd taken a sleeping pill. And I would go back to sleep until lunchtime, and then the same cycle would go on again. And I don't know how, I think Peter was still living with rose-tinted sunglasses. God knows how he can do that after 25 years, but anyway. And he realized that there was something a bit odd. The weird thing is we lived in a double story just before I came into recovery. We'd moved from Ubongo to Scotland in 2007. And it was a double story. And all the time I've been drinking, and not once did I ever fall down those stairs. 2 weeks out of the treatment centre, I fell down the stairs, stone cold sober. A week out of the treatment centre, I walked through. I mean, I never did stupid. I mean, I got bruises, but I never fell or damaged myself. I got bruises here and then I burnt myself on the oven and shit like that. A week after I got out, I was walking through the Scotland shopping centre, and my sponsor was working at Tyson's, and I was looking to see if I could see, and I walked into a pole. That Friday, I had to come to a meeting with a black eye. And it was so weird because I never ever got injuries that you could see when I was drinking. And sober, like 2 weeks, and I've got a black eye, and I've fallen down the stairs, and I'm walking around like a bloody cripple. Anyway, cut a long story short, I landed up in the treatment centre, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. If it wasn't for Tracy, I think I would have probably run after the first couple of days, because I was given a buddy, and yeah, we won't go into that, but Tracy ended up she stepped in to be my buddy, and she helped me a hell of a lot. I was really, really lost. I mean, I apparently went into the treatment centre the first day in my gown. Why? And the only thing I packed was shoes. And Peter took me there, and then he had to go home and pack for me, because the only thing in my case was shoes. And I didn't even wear half the shoes that I had. Some of them I didn't even realize I still had. I mean, I had a yellow pair of flatties that I'd never worn. I didn't even know they were still there. So yeah, I was somewhat out of it when I got there. I'm totally bewildered as to how I landed up there. I didn't want to be in a rehab. Before I went in, I went to go and see Brian, and he said that, he explained that he was an alcoholic, and alcoholics help one another, and he thinks I should come in because I really need to come into rehab. And I said to him, first of all, I'm going on holiday on Friday, it's our timeshare, and I'm leaving on Friday. And he looked at Peter, and Peter just shook his head. And then I said, and anyway, I can't understand how you can help me. How can an alcoholic help me? You don't know my problem, you don't know what I'm dealing with. I'm not as bad as you know, the usual crap. Anyway, Peter actually stood firm, and he left me there. And I think one of the first things I said to Tracy is, I'm divorcing him for leaving me here. And of course, after about 2 or 3 days after, because I only detoxed for 4 days, I realized that I was where I was supposed to be. I had an awesome sponsor when I was in treatment, Annie. She helped a hell of a lot. Brian helped me a hell of a lot. And going through the steps, the first time I did the step 1, I think I did about 7 questions, and Annie gave it back to me and said, start over, you're just writing a lot of crap. And she said, and I suggest that you stop doing this for your husband and your kids. If you're going to get this, and if you want to do it right, do it for yourself. And because if you don't get recovery for yourself, then none of the other stuff is going to matter. And that's what I did. I started over, and I started looking at myself and doing recovery for me. She tried to explain to me how it was a selfish program, and a self-list program. And when I started going through my steps, I started to understand, and I started to see why I was like I was, because when I got there, most people were younger than me. I mean, Tracy was about the age of my daughter. And there was one guy there that kept on telling me how to do my program, how things should be done. And I was getting so pissed off with this guy. I thought, he's a little snot. He's younger than my youngest child. And yeah, this little shit is trying to tell me what to do. I mean, does he know who he's talking to? And Brian said, instead of getting on your high horse, why don't you just shut up and listen? Because in my steps I'd written, my mom had always said, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And he said, do you remember when you wrote this? And I said, yes. He said, use it. So I started shutting up and listening. And I actually learned more than I thought I would from this guy. I still thought he was a prick. But he had a lot to teach me. Arrogance really could have gotten into a lot of trouble, and I decided to start being humble and actually listen to what people were trying to suggest. And the reason they were suggesting it was so that I'd get better. I could say I was there for 3 months, and the day before I was due to leave, I had a concern group, and Brian told me that he thinks I should stay for another month. And I told him to, and I said, let me know how that works for you, but I'm out of here tomorrow, I'm not staying another day. But before that, I wanted to run away, because my last sibling, my oldest brother, was passed. He was dying of cancer as well. And I decided I was going to go, because my brother was dying and he needed me. God knows what I was going to do for him. He was on like the last stages of cancer, and they had a reality group for me, and everybody told me what they thought, which was lovely. I really enjoyed that. And then Peter came up to the house, and they were all having me say, the counsellors and Keith and Brian, and Peter stood there with his arms folded and this big look on his face. And I thought, why am I doing this? If I go up to Joburg to be with my brother, I'm just going to start drinking again. The last 2.5 months of hell is going to be for absolutely nothing. And why? I didn't want to go up for I wanted to go up for my brother, but I couldn't stand my sister-in-law. So if I'd gone up for my sister-in-law, it would have been huge Barney. And while everybody was chirping, and I said, okay, I won't go, I'll stay. And I think it's the first time I've ever seen Keith speechless. It was such a lovely feeling. So anyway, I stuck it out for the rest of the 2 weeks that I was there. Because that wasn't the first time, that was the second time I wanted to leave. But anyway, I came out, and as soon as I left treatment, I hit the ground running. I went to all the meetings I went to 3 meetings a week, and up until we left Scarborough and moved down to the shithole down the road, I was doing 3 meetings a week, which I never, ever, ever missed. I did my Wednesday, my Friday, and my Sunday. Now I get here once a month, which I will not give up. Unless Peter moves to Nelspruit, thanks to you. I did service. I love doing service. I never did join ASC or any of that stuff, but my first service position was the Friday night meeting as coffee girl. And I did that for 9 months, mainly because they wouldn't let me go, because I thought I'd go one up on everybody else before me and I'd bake. I mean, I was a housewife, so I could bake. But anyway, I did that for 9 months, and then I just carried on. Also, one thing, before I went into treatment, people would tell me stuff, they'd tell me their names. I'd go to things with Peter, or he'd tell me shit, and it would go in this ear and out that ear, and I'd never remember. I couldn't remember people's names. We'd go to like a function, and they'd say, this is so-and-so, and this is so-and-so, and once I was introduced, I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was just because my memory was shot, probably, from all the booze and the sleeping pills that I was probably functioning on, sort of, or I just didn't care. But one of the things that I decided to do when I came into recovery was improve my memory. And the way I went about that was to remember people's names. Rob and myself were told when we came out of treatment that we had to greet people at the door. And I did that continuously until I left Scopera. Rob, I think, only did it for about 2 weeks. Sorry, Rob. So I was actually very fortunate that when I came into treatment, it was at the House on the Hill because they did the 12-step program, and they were very strict about the way people did the 12-step program. I mean, you know what it's like. You go and you do step work, and to this day, I still do my program. I work it every single day. I've got the same sponsor I had from the time I left treatment. I've still got her. She's in Joburg now, but we're still in touch once a week. I phone her. I think sometimes I sponsor her more than she sponsors me because I phoned her on Thursday and I couldn't get hold of her. I phoned her on Friday and I couldn't get hold of her. Eventually, yesterday I got hold of her. And I was on the phone to her for half an hour, and only at the end of the conversation did I tell her that I was sharing today, because for the whole half an hour I was on the phone, she was telling me her problems. But that's the way this works, because I mean, I sponsor Yvonne, and more often than not, she helps me more than I help her, because it's a give and take. I mean, Warren's also one of my sponsors, and he's also helped me enormously. Craig isn't one of my sponsors, well, he's sort of like an honorary sponsor, but he's also helped me. Because since I moved to Sea Park, I've been out of the loop, and if it wasn't for these guys phoning me regularly, me being able to get hold of my sponsor, most of the time I can get hold of them when I need it, but they phone me regularly, and they really helped me through, because this last year has been really, really tough. First of all, we sold a house. The only place we could find that had what we needed, because I've got 2 dogs and I refused to give my dogs away, was a house in Sea Park. And it was ideal because it's got bush all around it, so Peter's happy. He can bugger off and go and take photos of wildlife and whatever. And the only thing is that there's no meetings. Or there are meetings, but they're nothing like Scopera. Scopera has been my foundation, and when I went into one of the meetings there in Heberdean, I was appalled, because when I walked in there, I thought that this is the kind of meeting that if I'd gone into the first time, I would never have returned. I would have rather stayed a drunk, because they all looked like alcoholics. They didn't look happy. We look happy. There were 8 of them there, and actually I was more depressed when I left there than when I went in, because I was quite excited to go and meet new people, because people have said to me, oh, you go to a meeting anywhere in the world and it's like your job. Fuck no, that was not horrible. It was horrible. And I had a new sponsor sitting next to me, the 2 of us went. And 2 of the women there, they had using dreams. And now this chick sitting here, she's just fresh out of treatment. And first this woman shares about her using dream. But it's not a using dream, it's recall. And she's going into all the gory details about how the shit tasted and how she felt, and she actually felt drunk when she woke up, and I thought, oh my God, how is this going to be a message to any newcomer? And then she finished, and then this guy shared, and I mean, his share was secrets keep you sick. That was it. That was his share. And then I went to the next woman and she did exactly the same thing. And I thought, just shut up, this isn't your group. You're probably never going to be back there, but just keep quiet. And I said, no, I'm not known for my filter. I'm not known for a person that shuts up, especially when it comes to recovery. Because when it comes to recovery, I'm vocal. And I shared, and I let these bloody people have it. I said, first of all, you don't talk like that in front of newcomers. What are they going to think? Are you giving the wrong impression of recovery? Because I swear to God, these people, in fact, I'm sure they were still drunk, because, or using, or something, because that's not our normal. Sorry, they went to recovery as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, we got out of there so bloody fast, and I never returned, because really it was the most horrendous. I think I'd rather go into treatment again for a week. Only 1 week. They got at that meeting again, because that's how depressing it was. And then I said to my husband, that's it. I'm going to have to come through to Scarborough at least once a month, because I can't live without meetings and I can't live without Scarborough. And that's what I've been doing. And it's like, the only thing that's actually kept me sane is the fact that I know next month, the first Sunday of the month, I'll be able to come through here and get my fix and see my people and get my sanity back. Because in April, when we had those floods, the house that we were living in got washed away. Well, didn't get washed away. The mud from the house in the corner washed down into our backyard, and we had to leave the house because we couldn't get out the back door. The sand was up 1.5 meters at the by the windows. I was worried it was going to break. The drains are all blocked. We can't shower. We can't use the loos. We can't do anything. And then the mud started seeping into the windows. And they started working on it 2 weeks ago, after 3 months. So we got all excited and went there to go and see what they were doing, and I was going to water my plants, and they'd broken the water pipe, they'd broken the electricity pipe. So we can't even go and water my plants now. I mean, the house, each room has got its own ecosystem. It's got so much shit in there that you have no idea. I mean, the geckos are all over the place. With all the sand in the house, I've got weeds growing in my house. It's lovely. It's actually so uninhabitable that even the cockroaches have died. So you must know. So anyway, we're still stuck in this little, I've been calling it shit shack. We're still shack dwellers in Pamula. It's horrible. And this cold weather we've had now has been really bad because it's got no insulation, it's freezing. But despite all the stuff that I've gone through this past month and this past year, having to leave my home group and my comfort zone and find new people, well, I haven't found new people, but make new friends. I mean, I haven't got this. And just make another life for myself and my husband and my dogs. It's been hard because I didn't think I'd miss Scarborough as much as I do, but I think it's because of the meetings maybe. And then after like 2.5 months, I said to Peter, I'm going to have to start looking for somewhere else to stay because I don't know how long the house is going to take before it's fixed. And then this one comes up and says, well, why don't you look at Nelspruit? The houses are reasonable there. And Nelspruit is right next to the Kruger Park. And my husband says, that's a brilliant idea. I'd love that. Thank you. There's no meetings in Nelspruit. There's probably less there than in Aberdeen. So last week we ended up having a hell of a fight because his demands are a garage, a workshop, a garden, and at least 2 bedrooms and bush. The bush has now been added on. Before it was just those first few. So I've been looking and I still can't find anything suitable. So we're still stuck in a little cabin in Pamula. It's lovely. But yeah, I wouldn't change my life for anything. I never thought I'd see the day when I first went into treatment that I'd actually sit here and say, I'm actually grateful that I'm an alcoholic, because once I discovered why I was doing what I was doing, why I couldn't stop drinking, why I'd say to myself, that's it, no more, and I'd throw it away, and I'd be back again the next morning at the bottle store buying more booze. I just could not stop on my own. I'm one of those people that needed to go into treatment. I couldn't have done it like Yvonne. Yvonne did it through the rooms and through a sponsor. I had to go into treatment because I never believed my mom when she told me, but obviously it's true that I'm willful, and I would have just continued down that slippery slope and I wouldn't be sitting here, I'd be dead. Because it was getting to the stage where I couldn't function for half an hour without having something to drink. So for me, recovery has been a blessing. As much as I hated being in Cedars, in the treatment center, I really found it difficult because having to get up for a bell, having to have breakfast at a bell, having to go to meetings with a bell, having to have lights out, not being able to watch what I want to watch on TV, not that I watched all that much, but, and Don McQuaid. Oh my God. I could not stand those things. And the weird thing is, since I've been in Sea Park, guess who I've been listening to? I found him on some site, so I've been listening to him, and I really hated listening to him on a Saturday morning when they said, come on, Don McQuaid now. Oh fuck, really? Again? But yeah, I've been listening to him again. And yeah, I've been listening to a lot of shares that I've been getting. Somebody told me about YouTube, I think it was Craig. And listen to shares out there when I can't get to a meeting, because like I say, once a month is not enough for me, but that's all I can do. And other than that, I've got to listen to other people's shares, and I don't like Zoom meetings. I cannot do a Zoom meeting. Sorry. It's out of the question. So I speak to my sponsor, and my sponsor sees a lot. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, if I can do this at my age, anybody can do it, because I was a difficult old bitch. I was set in my ways. I didn't think anybody had anything to teach me. But now I know that you're not too old to learn. I learned that the hard way from people younger than me. And I recommend this to anybody that's got a problem of any sort, drinking, using, gambling, whatever. Quite frankly, I think people that are out there that think they're normal, they should read that book, because it helped my husband and he's normal. Yeah, we won't go there. Yeah, so that's me, and thanks for coming to listen to my show. Thanks.